This is Change Your Mindset Podcast, the podcast that helps change your life by helping change the mindset of the 99% into the 1% mindset. Here's your host, Adrian Gomez.
Welcome back to another podcast episode of Change Your Mindset. As always, I'm your host, Adrian Gomez. So the thing that's to terrify you the most, central bank digital currency. Before I get into the subject, there's a quote by Henry A. Kissinger. So it goes, quote, "If you control the food, you control a nation. If you control the energy, you control a region. If you control the money, you control the world." End quote. That quote's to lead you into what we're going to be talking about. So right now, when you purchase things from a vendor, you're going to either use cash or your card. And if you're going to use your card, obviously it's a transaction from your bank, whatever bank you have, Wells Fargo, Chase, whichever it is. You can use your card from the vendor and it's going to come up on your bank statement. And you'll be able to see how much you paid at that vendor. So only 3 people are going to know about that transaction. It's going to be you, your bank, and the vendor that know that transaction occurred. So let's say you don't use your card. You use cash. Cash, it's going to be between you and the vendor. Obviously, cash is not trackable. So only 2 people that are going to know about it is you and the vendor. With both of these transactions, you can buy whatever you want. No one's going to tell you how to spend your money because it's your money. You can spend it however you choose. So now let's get into the central bank digital currency. So for the United States, that's going to be the Federal Reserve. And instead of having your money in the banks, it's going to be with the Fed. And the thing with this is the government can control how you spend your money since it's a digital currency. They can tell you where to spend, what to spend. It's going to be totally up to them. You have no say in the matter no more. And now the Fed is going to know every single purchase you make to the detail. So for the previous example with a bank, you use your card, so it's up on your bank statement, right? Wherever vendor you go to. Let's say for Chipotle, for example. You go to Chipotle, you use your card with the bank, and it comes up on your statement, Chipotle, you spend $20. Now, with the central bank digital currency, it's going to show you went to Chipotle, you bought maybe a chicken burrito, or maybe a steak burrito, maybe you bought a salad, a drink, whatever you buy, it's going to be every single detail of what you purchased. And of course, how much you spent. Now they're going to have even more information on you, know every single detail about you, what you're buying, your habits, every single thing. So you're saying, all right, then maybe I won't use that card from the Fed. Maybe I'll just use cash because obviously cash is not trackable. They can't see what I'm buying, what I'm purchasing. It's a little loophole, right? Let's just say they ban cash. Then what are you going to do? You have no choice. You go to a vendor, they say, sorry, we don't accept cash no more. You have to use your Fed card. Now you have no choice but to use it. Let's just say they don't even ban cash. They don't care. Like, go ahead, use your cash, but you have to have all your money in the Fed. All right, fine. So you go to the vendor, you go to Chipotle again. Like, all right, I have my cash now. You think they can't track you, right? But before you make a purchase, the cashier says, excuse me, can you put either your fingerprint or look into this eye scanner before you make your purchase or before we take your order? And that information is going to go straight to the Fed. And they're still going to be able to know exactly what you purchased. And you're probably saying, okay, what if the vendor doesn't agree? Well, whether the vendor agrees or not, it's not up to them. Because the Fed's going to push the vendor by either saying, hey, you need to do this, or we take your business license away, and you can't do business here in the United States. And they're going to have no ultimatum. They have no choice but to abide by the rules. At this point, you're probably saying, okay, maybe I can use precious metals, maybe silver, gold, or maybe Bitcoin, whatever. Yeah, maybe some places. Yeah, but there might be a black market where you could be able to do stuff like that. But it's going to make your life very difficult and very challenging for the basic needs you're going to need to get for your daily life and your essentials. For some people might be thinking or saying, that's fine, I don't mind the government knowing what I buy, what I purchase, my history, anything like that. Are you okay letting the Fed be able to control, or the government, what you can and cannot purchase? Because you got to think about it nowadays, because this whole climate change, they're doing the carbon credit score. You can buy so much because it leaves your carbon footprint, all this stuff, propaganda they feed you. If they say, you go to the market and let's say, I want to buy a piece of meat, and you go to the register and you try to pay, and the cashier says, I'm sorry, you can't purchase that because it says here you already passed your limit for how much meat you can have per month based off your carbon footprint. And now you're being controlled on what you can and cannot purchase based off what the government tells you. And now they basically control your life, control what you do. And there goes your freedom. And of course, the higher ups and the elites of the world will never have to abide to these rules because, they're superior than everyone else. And to them, we're just peasants and we have to do what we're told. And this is already happening in China. Everything the government controls. They have a central bank digital currency there. So they control all their citizens. So after hearing this, you're probably saying, I would never sign up for my money being with the Fed. I would obviously keep it in the banks. So most people obviously aren't financially educated, don't keep up with anything, live in a bubble, don't know anything about this. And I'll tell you how there will get people like that. So obviously Silicon Valley Bank is out of business. No more. People, when that happened, took their money out of small banks and put it into big banks because Janet Yellen said if you deposit money in these big banks, you will be covered by the Fed. These small banks, if you have your money in there, your money will not be covered. So a lot of people took their money out of small banks and put them into big banks because they were scared that what happened at Silicon Valley Bank could happen to their small bank. And if their small bank goes bust, they lose their money. So the Federal Reserve is probably going to say, we will remove your balance sheet from the bank into ours because we know that the Federal Reserve cannot go bust. You will not lose any of your money if it goes into the Fed. So they're going to use that fear of people, with people leaving their money in banks, just knowing that, hey, if this bank goes bust and the Fed doesn't bail them out, I'm going to lose all my money in the banks. But if I leave my money with the Fed, I will be okay. I'm not going to lose any of my money. So that's how they will use it. And they might give you a incentive, like maybe if you move your money into the Federal Reserve, we'll give you $1,000, a couple of thousand, maybe give you so much money if you move it over. And people would do anything for free money. Or they might say, if you want your stimulus check or if you want a loan or something, you have to move your money to the Federal Reserve. And they might force you to move your money instead of willingly making you move your money. And at that point, you will have no choice. And the Federal Reserve will control your money, how you spend it. And the scary thing, we're just talking about food. What if you have your own views? You don't think how the government wants you to think. You don't like their politics. You don't like their beliefs. You don't believe maybe we shouldn't be in this war. You speak out against the government. They control your money. They can shut down your account and you have no more money. And how are you supposed to live? How are you supposed to buy food? How are you supposed to survive? Now they control you even more. Say for my podcast, because I talk about be the best version of yourself, physically, mentally, financially. Whatever the government says, we don't like that. We don't want people to be the best version of yourself. We don't like what you tell people. They can shut down my bank account because now it's in the Federal Reserve, and now I can't use my own money. Now they have more control over you, and that's scary. That should terrify you. And I know for sure there will be people that will be willingly to put their money in the Federal Reserve because they're scared that their bank might collapse and they might lose their money. For those people that want safety and security, that are willing to put the money with the Federal Reserve if there becomes a central bank digital currency, just for that safety and security, they're giving up their freedom and their privacy. So ask yourself, is that worth it? For some people it is. Some people like the freedom and privacy because this country was founded on freedom. Obviously, to be able to control yourself, capitalism, control your own destiny in this country. This is not a communist country. But for people that want safety and security and want the government to take care of them, that's going to give you communism. Some people are okay with that nowadays. The good news, as of now, none of this is possible. It's actually illegal. So if you go on the Federal Reserve website, there goes a question that says, does the Federal Reserve maintain accounts for individuals? Can individuals use such accounts to pay bills and get money? And it responds, no. The Federal Reserve banks provide financial services to banks and government entities only. Individuals cannot by law have accounts at the Federal Reserve. So like I said, as of now, it's illegal. But if they try to change this law, you should be worried. You should be terrified. Because if they try to get rid of that law, they will go for a central bank digital currency. So that is something you need to pay attention and look out for. Once they try to change that law, everything, as you know, will change. I appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. Hopefully that gives you some insight for central bank digital currency, something we would never want, hopefully. Most people agree. But if you like your freedom and you don't want to be controlled, you like your privacy, you obviously do not want anything to do that has your money going into the Federal Reserve. And you always have to look out for that law. Because like I said, right as of now, it's illegal. So always keep an eye on it. And hopefully this did inform you and educate you, because a lot of people are worried about this. And I can't blame them. Because a lot of people do not want to be controlled and do not want the government knowing exactly what they're doing and what they're purchasing. And they not want to be controlled how they spend their own money. So thank you guys again for listening to this podcast, taking time out of your busy day. I appreciate it as always. Thank you, Patreon member Blade262. I appreciate you for supporting this podcast, being a Patreon. If you would like to be a Patreon supporter of this podcast, the link is in the description below. I appreciate you guys as always. Subscribe on whichever platform you're on, and share and let other people know about central bank digital currency for you to be well informed and to know exactly what to look out for. Thank you guys again. I wish you the best. Take care as always. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Change Your Mindset podcast. Be sure to tune in every week for a new episode. As always, change your mindset to change your life.